academic from the University of Wales at Lampeter, and I'm here to meet the public, to share my knowledge of the First World War with the public, with their stories about their relatives that they've brought here today. Not only stories, not only memories, but also memorabilia. So we're talking about documents, pictures, even material culture, items. And what we hope to do is identify them, give them context, and then put them online through the People's Collection Wales website, which I would like to mention is a very important website.
And I couldn't fail, but I actually brought something along.
Oh, right.
I found some First World War memorabilia. And one of my friends gave me this.
Right.
And he said, would I please pass this on and see if anybody knows anything about them?
Right, yeah. Well, looking at them, they've obviously been personalised. They're brought down into a mini version. I'll have to look at them closely. You have got the larger one, yeah. So they may be used for dress occasions going on. I'll have to look at them more carefully to identify which particular medals they are. I think the 1914-18 service medal is amongst them. But it's items such as these we're looking for, to identify context, put them online so ordinary people can share their memorabilia, their memories, their documents about their family members with others. And they can, at your leisure, browse through the website.
Have you had any people turning up yet with any interesting things?
We've had a couple of people just turn up now, one with documentary evidence involving his wife's great-uncle, who was a very young pilot with the Royal Flying Corps. And one of my colleagues, Dr. Gethy Matthews, from University of Swansea, is now actually looking at these and identifying them, adding more material on them, put them into context, and hopefully the gentleman will go away with much more deeper, insightful knowledge about the items he's brought along today.
And they're all going to get curated up onto a website?
We have experts here from the People's Collection of Wales who know what they're doing. They're going to digitise them, with permission, of course, put them on site today then. And hopefully, if you were to visit the People's Collection Wales website, you'll be able to see at first hand these items today, or some of them at least.
Now, I come back to these things because I was looking at the larger versions, and these were given to me by a friend, Chris Howe. And the two on the left, you're right, are service medals. But I was really intrigued because I was reading on the back of one that it said the Great War, the First World War, 1914 to 1918. And the second one says that the First World War was 1914 to 1919. And I was just intrigued because that seems bizarre.
No, one is the end of hostilities. 1914 to 1918, November 1918, hostilities ended. Formally, the war did not end till end of June 1919 with the signing of the Versailles Treaty. So you get it in items, I guess you get it on war memorials sometimes. People either commemorating the final days of hostilities, November 1918, or the formal ending of the war, Peace of Paris, Treaty of Versailles, in end of June 1919, and the peace celebrations that went on from there. So it was a matter of choice what you want to do. But I think for historically, most people say 1914, 1918. But at the time, people regarded that you needed to include the Peace of Paris and the actual signing of the Treaty of Versailles by the Germans that underlined the fact they had actually lost the war. So it's a matter of what you want to look at. But generally, 1914, 1918.
So, I mean, I can imagine that obviously the number of people who are still alive, that were alive at the time, is very low. And most people are finding these pieces of memorabilia. Do you generally find that these people already know what they've got, or it's just been passed down in a box perhaps, and they've dug it out and they've just got that they have no context to it, or do they have some context?
I think they've probably got some context, but over time, over generations, that has been lost. The personal element, item of memorabilia has memory connected to it, that's lost. So it's carried on through word of mouth essentially, or through written documents, but it is lost. So we can only, in a sense, give part of the story from objectively, with our knowledge as academics of these items. Sometimes the hidden transcript that was once there is no longer there, and that's very, very sad. But hopefully we can fill in the gaps a bit. But undoubtedly, part of it is lost over time through generations. And through events like this, we would try and capture some of that before it's lost forever. And if we can do it digitally, it's there for generations to come as well. And interpretation is an important thing, of course.
And how much material do you actually have digitized at the moment?
We have a number of it, quite a lot on at the moment. One of the most important parts of that, and one of the most richest elements of that, are newspapers. For example, we've got local newspapers from 1914, 1918, 1919, which you were able to go online to look at, go into the search engine, put in an appropriate name, and bang, you've got a series of newspaper reports there waiting for you. It's brilliant. It's a step from walking into a records office and browsing through dusty newspapers, getting headaches from it because of this awful smell. You've got it digitized. It is a brilliant aspect of research available to not only academics but to members of the public as well, just by in your own home. It is excellent.
And does this connect in any way? I know because I do a bit of family tree work myself, and so I have access to the births, marriages, and deaths going back a long way. So presumably there's a connection in there because a lot of the marriages that would have taken place there just before people went to war, perhaps, and of course the deaths, which would have been very difficult to record into those kinds of systems, must be a challenge for you.
It is a challenge for you. I think one of the advantages of, say, looking at people who failed to come home, who were a casualty, a fatality of war, is that records tend to accumulate around a dead person. So you can, perhaps not directly sometimes, but you can use deaths, marriages, and other set sources, primary sources, alongside some of the material we have today. And you can, witness when a man died, where he lived, what he was doing in 1901, 1911, and then related to his demise on the Western Front or wherever. And not necessarily on the Western Front is one other point you need to make about fatalities and family fatalities in the war. There are a lot of men served elsewhere, in Palestine, in Gaza, in Mesopotamia, in Gallipoli, Mesopotamia being modern-day Iraq, of course. So history does repeat itself, you may say. But you can use one against the other, yeah.
No, my friend, when he showed this to me, said this is the Order of the Nile.
Oh, right, yes. It looks very unusual.
Yeah, and that was apparently given to a Mr. Bennett because he had found the cure to the bite of the tsetse fly in Sudan.
All right.
And apparently he actually inoculated himself with it to see whether it worked or not. So, it's all of that trying to connect back to the reality through the items.
And we've got our work cut out when we come across medals of the Order of the Nile, because we've got to go and do our homework on this. We know about the basic ones, about the Western Front, the 1914-18 Star, etc., etc. But when it comes to something like that, right, this is new, this is interesting, this is rich. So we've got our work to cut out to find out what we can about that. And if we could connect general elements of information about that sort of medal against what the contributor, what the family member can bring along, you do fill in the jigsaw becomes more complete, I think, on something like that.
So one last question, because this always happens at all the antiques roadshows that I've ever seen, and that is, so if there's one thing that someone could bring in that you'd like to see that you've never seen before from the First World War, what would it be?
We were discussing it with Jerry Oram and Getty Matthews, the other academics, this morning. And one of the items that came up was a German pickelhab helmet. It really, I know it's the the German helmets that followed from 1916 onwards, like our steel helmets. These were the original Prussian-type pickle helmets, which a lot of men managed to get hold of through memorabilia, as memorabilia of the war. Well, that's a bit, plus a bit of fun element towards that. But, and letters are very poignant. We love some of these letters from the trenches to loved ones at home. We enjoy. They're very rich, and there's a lot of material in there. Unwritten testimony, not only information about the family, but unwritten testimony about men's conditions, how they felt, what they were going through. What they're fearing for their circumstances, and even the day-to-day life, ordinary life of men in the trenches.
So unlike the Antiques Roadshow on the TV, I guess people are going to be coming here much more interested in the social aspect of what they're going, rather than how much is it worth.
I have no idea how much of these items are worth. I really don't know that side of it, but certainly I hope it's the social element and the familial element. That's the true richness. That's the wealth. As far as how much they're worth, fiscally,
to the people, they're going to be priceless. Lester, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you have a very successful exhibition. Thank you.